Welcome to the Radiant Life podcast. I am your host, Tatiana, and I am a master mindset coach, and I'm obsessed with empowering you to live and create your best life possible. If you're looking to uplevel your mindset, life, happiness, and success, then you are in the right place. My goal with this podcast is to help you see the potential within yourself, to be able to break the limiting beliefs and habits that are holding you back, and to help you feel inspired to get clear with who you are in order to create the life you desire. Thank you so much for listening. Now let's get into today's episode. Hello, and welcome back to the Radiant Life podcast. Today's episode is such a juicy interview that I had the pleasure of interviewing my friend, Paige Vandy. And you guys, her story is so inspirational, so powerful, so badass. I cannot wait for you to dive into this episode and hear all of what she's been through and what she has to say. She touches on how she overcame a very dark, scary time in her life, how she got her health under control and developed a killer mindset to go after whatever it was that she wants in her life. She also shares her story on how she transitioned into the online coaching world, first as a fitness coach and now as a business coach, helping other women start their online health and fitness coaching programs. She also uses and touches a little bit on human design and how she incorporates that into her business coaching program. But before I spoil it all away, without further ado, let's just dive into this episode. I hope you all enjoy it. Hey, hello, Paige. Welcome to the Radiant Life podcast. Thanks for joining and coming on today.
Thanks for having me. I'm so excited.
I'm so excited too. I'm excited to hear a little bit more about your story. I know for everyone listening, I already know a little bit on Paige's story. That's why I had her on, because it's such a powerful story. But a little background, her and I met almost 3 years ago, June of 2018?
Isn't that insane? Can we swear on this podcast?
Yes, we are.
Okay. I already almost just swore. I'm like, I better ask that.
No, yes, I have to put the little E next to it. So you're good. But yeah, I know it's so crazy. So we met. Yeah, in a business coaching program. And so we've stayed connected ever since. And this is why it's so important. I tell everybody, like, internet friends are so important. You can make really long lasting friendships online. And so here we are. So I'm so excited to have you on. And let's dive into it. So let's start with, tell us a little bit of like who you are, where you're from, and then what you do.
Yeah, so I'm Paige Vandy, and I live in British Columbia, Canada. So kind of close to Vancouver. So a lot of people have no idea where I actually live in Canada if they're not from Canada. So I'm like three and a half hours from Vancouver. Not born here. I was born in a province over, but I live out here. I really like the West Coast, mountains, water, lifestyle. It's my shit. And I'm a business coach for online health, wellness, fitness, lifestyle coaches. So I actually started, like Tatiana said, we met 3 years ago. I started my business in 2017 and didn't really take off that well. It was really fucking hard. I was trying to do it on my own. And so I joined the group coaching program that Tatiana and I were in together in 2018. And I started as a fitness coach. I did that for a couple of years. And then in 2020, beginning of 2020 is when I just kind of ripped the Band-Aid off and started business coaching.
Yeah, I remember that. That was almost, I think it was a year ago. I remember I messaged you on the transition I was making in my business. And you're like, yeah, I'm going to just go for business coaching. And what I love about Paige is that she just went in. It was just a switch one day. No holding backs or anything.
Yeah, I'm not a very gradual person. It's very I think I want to do this. Here we go.
Yes. And I'm a gradual person. So that's what inspires me so much about you. Before we go into a little bit more of the business stuff, tell me a little bit what got you into wanting to start your own business and into health and fitness. Let's get deep into your backstory.
Ooh, okay. Should we just go right into the story then? Because
I love it. I'm so excited to hear it again.
Because it's a lot. And it actually starts when I was a teenager. So I guess, let's just get right into it. So and I promise it all leads into how I get into health and fitness when we go into this. Basically, So as a teenager, I had like pretty strict parents. Like I was a pretty like normal, decent, I guess you can say, kid. I was like in competitive soccer, like I was doing all like the sports, I was getting good grades, like I was pretty normal. Like I kind of thought I just had like a normal family. Sorry, my dad was a corrections officer at a prison. Um, and my mom was a nurse. So it was just like kind of like a typical family. However, I had like they were really strict with me. So as a teenager, I started like doing teenage stuff by the time I was like 14, 15. I started like going out with friends and like going to parties and stuff like that. And like, I really wasn't doing anything crazy at that point, but I had like very strict parents who, we couldn't really communicate. So when I went out and when I like went to parties or went out with friends, they were like very, very strict with me, more so than like my other friends were. So instead of like being able to tell my parents like what I was doing, I had to like, I had to start lying and just being like, I'm not going to this party. Like, I'm just going to go sleep over at Sarah's house. And like, you know what I mean? So it was one of those things that like, I really wasn't doing anything crazy, but I still like couldn't really tell my parents the truth because I would get in shit. I'd get grounded. Like they wouldn't let me go. And I was just like, I'm going to go. So that was kind of like my teenage start of like a little bit of rebellion, I guess I would say. Once I started getting to be like 16 or like 15, 16, it was actually like around 15, I think. I started going to like more parties and like started drinking a little bit more. And I started not coming home because if I came home and like 2 a.m, I was like, I have no idea what would happen to me. Like, I'm so scared. So I started like lying more and staying out. And like when I was staying out, I was just doing parties, like nothing crazy, not doing like drugs or anything yet. um, and then, yeah, my parents just kind of thought that like they had no idea what I was doing because I just wouldn't come home. And so they thought that I was like, I have no idea, like on the street doing drugs, selling drugs. Like I have no idea. So as a teenager, they kind of just didn't know what to do with me. And this is kind of like a pivotal moment here is I remember I was getting ready to go to school. I was in 11th grade, getting ready to go to school. I was like straightening my really shitty extensions. I remember this like so well. They were
Down to the
so gross.
detail.
Yeah, yeah. I was like straightening those and my dad comes downstairs and he's like, hey, so we're going to go to Vegas for like a family vacation. I feel like our family really needs it. That kind of thing. And I was like, cool. Yeah, like I'll skip school and go to Vegas. Like that's sweet. And I actually remember like I was texting one of my friends and he was just like, I have a really bad feeling about this. Like, don't go. And
Wait, what? I didn't know this part.
yeah, yeah, yeah. It was crazy. And I'm like, no, like it's just Vegas. Like that's fun. Like I'm gonna go. And so we, long story short, like fast forward, we go to Vegas. And my parents, like my aunt and uncle came with me and they actually have a house in Vegas as well. Like they have a couple houses all over the place. So they were saying that like, oh, they're going to look at real estate. Like we have to get up early in the morning and like, we're going to go look at real estate with your aunt and uncle. I was like, okay, like whatever. And so it was like 7 a.m. And I remember we drove to, I think it was like a Target or a Walmart parking lot, like something like that, like really early in the morning. And I was like, this is weird. Like it's an empty parking lot. And we just like pulled up beside this like red car. And I remember getting out, or no, yeah, I got out because like my parents were like, yeah, like get out, go, like we have to like see these people. And I just remember like the next thing I really remember is like my dad bawling, like my aunt bawling, my mom was just kind of like standing there. And these people got out of the car and just like put me into the back of their car. And I had no idea who these people were and like no idea what was going on. And I tried to get out of the car and it was like police locks. Like you couldn't get out from the inside. And I had no idea where I was going or like what was happening. And so I remember just like my dad being like, I'm so sorry, and like crying and like still had no idea what was going on. And so these people started just like driving with me in the car. And I remember like asking where we were going, and they're like, sorry, like we can't tell you. Like we're just gonna be driving for a little while. And I was like, what the fuck? So I remember I just put in like my MP3 player. and just like started listening to music. Oh, go on.
Wait, I was gonna say, did you not think you were being kidnapped or anything? Like what?
I didn't know. Like I had no idea what was happening. Like no clue. Cause like my parents took me. So I'm like,
Mm.
that's like weird, right? So I had no idea. But it was crazy because I'm not even from the fucking country. I was from Canada. So to like be driving with strangers like out of Nevada was pretty intense. And then I remember they like took me through a drive-through Jack in the Box, and we don't have Jack in the Box in Canada. And they're like, do you want anything, sweetie? And I'm like, no. And they're like, not even a marshmallow sundae? And I'm like, fine. I was like, I gotta try this place. I've never been here. But like super like pissed off and everything in general. So yeah, I just like listened to my MP3 player, listened to music the whole time, and we were like driving for hours, like a very, very long time. And then we stopped somewhere and I had to like get a medical. So they took me to like a doctor. Still by this point, had no idea what was going on. They just said I had to get this medical for like where I was going. Still had no idea what was happening. So we did that, got back in the vehicle. And then they ended up driving me to Utah. So now I don't even remember how long of a distance that is.
I
Vegas to
think,
Utah.
well, it depends where in Utah.
That's true.
Because I know from Vegas to like St. George area, which is like Zion, I think it's
Yeah.
about
Yeah, it was
2
by there.
hours. 2 hours,
Okay.
I
Yeah,
think.
it was by there. So yeah, we went there and we just like, I remember like driving up these like mountains. Like we just like went out of the city. We're like driving up these mountains for, it seemed like forever because I had no idea what was going on. And then they bring me to this like little center in the middle of nowhere. And I go in there and it turns out it's like this almost like brat camp. So I get there, they tell me I have to take off all of my clothes that I'm wearing. And I have all these, like, I had these piercings, I had like a tongue ring, a nose ring. I just had a fresh lip ring and they had to like make me take them out, but they had to take my lip ring out with pliers because it was so fresh.
Oh my God.
It was like the worst thing. I had to be like naked. They had to like make sure I didn't have anything on me. So
your audio just cut out a little. Go again.
Is it good?
Yeah, we're good.
Okay.
So they took out your lip ring with pliers?
Yes. And I had to be naked because they had to make sure I didn't like have anything on me. It was like a fucking like prison check. It was so crazy. And they put these like new clothes on me that were just like awful, like beige, like baggy. I don't even know. They're just crazy. And then they gave me this like big backpack and I remember putting it on and falling over because it was so heavy. And then so I get all this gear, I go back into this vehicle, we drive up the mountain a little bit more, and I like come to this like group of girls who are just like on the mountain. And they're like, this is where you're going to be living for the next 2 months. So
wait, when they were taking your clothes, your piercings off, did you put up a fight at all? Or were you just like kind of going with it?
Honestly, I don't really remember. Like, it's kind of crazy because so much of this stuff, it's like so hazy to me still. Like the more I talk about it, like some things I'll remember, but it's still like such a hazy thing for me. I feel like I was just like angry. Like I don't think I wasn't really like that person who would like refuse to do things, but I think I was just like really snotty almost and like really angry. So I ended up staying there for 2 months and it was basically just like we didn't have any like tents. We didn't have like anything like that. Like we had to make fire with sticks or else we couldn't eat that day. Like we had to be able to do that. We had to ration our food. We got food drop twice a week and we had to ration it. And if we ate our food, we couldn't eat. And I remember I like was so bad at that. One time I had to eat a potato for like 2 days, like just like a baked potato and like garlic or something for like 2 days. So I didn't have any food. And like, oh my God. It was insane. And like the second month that I was there, the snow was like up to my knees and like we didn't have tents. So we had to like wrap tarps around like trees and like make little cocoons and like sleep in there. Remember one time I woke up with a scorpion on my bed and like, it was just, I know, it was so fucked up. So that was like 2 months and that's not even where it ends. So after that, I did that like brat camp thing, lived outside. my hair was actually like the healthiest it's ever been. So like FYI, that just shows like what
We don't
washing
need
your
to
hair really
wash our
does.
hair.
Yeah, it was like the healthiest it's ever fucking been. My eyebrows were awful. They were so bad. But yeah, like my hair was so healthy. And then so after that, I wasn't allowed to go home still. I had to go to a boarding school, like a therapeutic boarding school. And that was like for another year or so. So that one was in Montana. And this school, it's actually insane. Like if you guys have seen that like documentary,
I was going to ask,
Hilton.
So is it the same school?
It's not the same school, but it's like the same type of school. Like everything is the same. Yeah. So like how I got taken away by those people in Vegas, the only reason that happened to me that way was because I wasn't actually like a citizen of the States. All of the other people who went to that school were taken out of their bedrooms. Like who were like living in the States, like they would just take them right out of their bedrooms. My parents had to like actually bring me over the border because it's like illegal to do that where I live.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
So if whoever's listening, if you haven't seen this documentary, you can YouTube Paris Hilton's story on it because she has a very similar story. Before you go on, did you have any contact with your parents during those 2 months?
So we could only write letters back and forth.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So I had like, I forget like when, I think it was like once a week maybe we got letters, something like that. And then it was kind of the same at the boarding school. Like there really wasn't that much contact. There was no like TV, like no outside world stuff. And it's actually kind of crazy because like the first time in my life I've ever had an anxiety attack was like coming from this brat camp to this boarding school, because the only like actual civilization I saw or like real world stuff I saw or technology that I saw was like in that short time in between. And it was so like overstimulating that I just like couldn't breathe, had a panic attack. Like we had to like pull over on the side of the road to like try and like help me. It was crazy. But that boarding school, yeah, we didn't like have any like outside thing. Like none of my friends knew where I was. My parents wouldn't even like tell my best friend where I was. Like she had no idea where I was for over a year.
Oh my God.
It was insane. And we had like really crazy rules there too. Like it was like we couldn't wear normal clothes, had to be like very like, I don't even know, like wear like Old Navy stuff. We had to work like most of the day, like labor, like digging stumps and like building like benches out of like logs and like shit like that. And then we'd go to school for like 2 hours a day, 3 hours a day. And they told my parents that I would be able to graduate there. But actually, when I like ended up leaving the school, nothing like even counted.
Nothing transferred?
No, and that school is shut down now too. So I'm like,
oh
yeah. So it was very much so like very culty. It was very like, I don't want to say like abusive, but like kind of. Like mentally? I remember like, yeah, like I remember we'd have to stay in buildings for like night after night after night doing these like insights is what they call them. And it was like for therapy reasons. I'm like doing like air quotes right now. It was for like therapy reasons, but they would hold us down with pillows and be like, these are your like demons. These are like all of the things that you've done in your life, like fight against them and like stuff like that. But they'd be holding us down with pillows and like we wouldn't be able to leave the room for like days. So like they'd bring us like food and stuff to like eat, but like we couldn't leave. So it was just like there was so many like crazy things there. So
I'm like still in disbelief. I'm so shocked. I mean, I've heard similar stories, but I just cannot imagine that at such a young age and how scary that must have been.
Yeah. So that was like kind of the thing, because so this is kind of like getting into a little bit of like why I'm doing what I do. But I mean, when I went to that school, when I like left all that stuff, like I really wasn't that bad of a kid. Like I was doing like teenage stuff, but my parents never actually like talked to me to like understand what was happening. And like, we didn't have that like open communication to do that. So when I go to this school, all of a sudden I'm being told that like, you're here for a reason, like you're bad, like you did all this stuff, like you should be like disappointed in yourself, like you're just like a bad person and that's why you're here. And so those are the type of things that we would hear over and over and over again. And like if we didn't like, they would have like group like therapy sessions, and if we didn't have anything to say, they'd be like, yes you do, like you're here for a reason. And so it was just very much so like for a long time at a young age being told that like you're something different than what you kind of thought you were. So when I left that school, I actually wasn't allowed to go back to my hometown. They made me sign a contract saying that like I wouldn't go back to my hometown because it was like
What?
toxic for me. Yeah, that didn't last, but I wasn't able to go home. But again, that kind of like put that idea in my head that like, wow, I must be so bad because I can't even go to my own city and I'm 16 years old. Like, what a badass.
Yeah, really
Like,
though. Oh
yeah. And so I had to like
wait,
say,
before you continue, was there anything that allowed you to keep going when you were in that school? How did you make it? I don't know if I would have been able to make it, to be honest. Like, I don't know if I would have.
yeah. And I mean, it was really, really tough. Like, I remember, I think it was just kind of like I had really good friends there. And just kind of like making the best of like a really shitty situation when I was in it. But I remember like when I was able to talk to my parents, all I would do is like take me the fuck out of here. Like all I wanted to do was like get the fuck out. But I never like did anything crazy to like rebel against it because I was just like, what's the fucking point?
Yeah, true.
But it was like really, there was a lot of hard days, like a lot of hard days there. So it was a really tough year.
Oh my goodness, that's crazy.
hmm
Sorry, you can keep continue. I'm
Yeah. And
still just
so
listening.
I know, I know. And so, yeah, when I went back home, I wasn't in my city. And that was really hard too, because I didn't finish high school yet. And because I went to this school, I was a year behind because nothing actually transferred. So I was in like a really shitty place then because I wasn't allowed back in my city. So I wasn't able to go back to my school that like I've gone to forever. I know all the people. I had to go to a new high school. And that's really hard, like not knowing anybody and being in a like a new person in a high school and then like also a year behind. I just felt like so almost like out of control and just like pissed off. And so I would go back home. Like my city was an hour away. So I'd drive back there on the weekends and like go hang out with my friends and stuff like that. And finally I just like told my parents like I have to like be back home. And so I was kind of just like, I'm like my aunt and uncle, like I wasn't really being the best there either. Like I actually got kicked out because I was smoking weed. And like I just like felt so lost at that time. And so when I went back to my hometown, that's when I actually got bad because all of a sudden I was like, well, apparently I'm bad. Like
Yeah.
I went to this school. I wasn't even allowed back in my city. Like apparently I'm bad. Like I'm just gonna be bad. And so when I like got back home, that's when I started drinking more. That's when I started doing drugs more. Like that's when like all of this shit just basically hit the fan. I was 17 by this time, just turning 18, I believe. And I was like starting to get into really like some really bad shit, doing a lot of drugs, crashed my vehicle, got in a really, really bad accident. And then my mom kicked me out like right after I turned 18. And she was like, I don't care where you go, but you're not staying here. My dad wasn't home.
Damn.
And my dad is the one I'm close with. I'm not close with my mom at all. And so my dad wasn't home and she kicked me out. And at that time, all of my friends, because I was only 18, all of my friends still lived with their parents. And so I was like, well, where the fuck do I go? And the only people I really knew who would like take me in was like these older party friends who were like drug dealers. Like it wasn't like a good scene. And so that's like where I went to live because I was like, well, this is where I can live. So around that time, I mean, I would say like there was a couple of years that went by that it was just like, it was bad. It was just like a lot of drinking, a lot of drugs, and like just losing myself. And the one thing though that I did keep that I like I'm so grateful for is like I kept going to the gym. I kept like my health up. Like I kept that like okay, I say like I kept my health up very loosely here. But like I was like doing those stuff, but like at the same time, on like weekdays, I would still try and go to the gym. I would still try and like hang on to that. And it was almost like this like little rope or something that kept me from like completely spiraling out of control.
Wow.
And so, yeah. And so a couple of years went by, still like partying, still hanging out with these people, but I started getting more into the gym and like kind of like started realizing like that it is something. It was like an outlet for me. So like I would feel really shitty about myself for like whatever I did on the weekend. And then I'd go to the gym on Monday and it would just like it felt really, really good for me. And so like as the years went on, I kind of just like really held on to that and like started drinking a little bit less, started doing drugs a little bit less. But like, and then kind of just like started like pulling myself out almost from the gym. I ended up getting in 2014, I believe it was, I ended up hiring my first online personal trainer. And so that's when things like really kind of started shifting for me. I just like got so into the world after that. I actually got like a office job at that point, which was like kind of like my first like real job. It was like my first salary job that I actually like went to every single morning, and like one of those things that was just really consistent for me. So like started getting that consistent kind of feeling for myself. I started really like doing my own research with health and nutrition and working out and all of that stuff. And it just became like, it like truly became my outlet and like something that like almost saved my life, honestly, because it was
Yeah,
something that I
seriously
had
though.
to focus on. Yeah. Something I had to focus on, something that I just loved doing. And so I did that for a couple of years. I started like getting into bodybuilding stuff, and it was like such a saving grace for me almost.
Mm-hmm.
So fast forward, I just like knew this is something that I loved doing. And I remember like I would be at my job and I'd be like on bodybuilding.com and like just
I was
like
the
doing that kind of
same.
stuff and like, yeah, and like just like researching. And like I remember everyone from my office would like come over to my desk and just be like, hey, like, how do I do like this at the gym? Or like, what kind of meals do you eat? Like, I feel like you always eat so healthy. Like, can you help me? And so that kind of like got my wheels turning too. And I loved it. Like it was one of those things that I just like couldn't stop talking about. And so that is like almost, and I always tell my clients this too, like if there's a thing that you just like cannot stop thinking about, or like you can talk about with someone so easily and you feel like you could talk about it for hours, like pay attention to that thing.
Yeah.
And so this was that thing for me. And I just like fell in love too with like the online training part. So I kind of like started getting my wheels turning of like how I can maybe start doing something like this. And like I wanted to be an online fitness trainer. Like that was just like it just like clicked for me. Like I always thought I wanted to be in like HR, and I went to business school and all of that kind of stuff. But this was like that one thing that actually clicked, and I'm like, holy shit, this is it. Like I need to do this. So I went and got my personal training certificate. And I did that. And then I started like trying to build like out a website and all of that kind of stuff. Which I did, but I focused, like, that was all the stuff I focused on. I focused on all like the back end stuff. I had one client, and she was actually somebody from my office,
Oh,
and she
hold on. It
paid,
got cut out again. Do that
no.
again. You had one client and what?
Oh, I had one client from my office, and she paid me $150 for 3 months of training. But it was so exciting. Like it was so fun, and like I made her a plan and like all of that kind of stuff. And I just like, it was just like, it lit me up so much. But that's kind of where it stopped. I couldn't find clients after that. I had no idea like really how to build up systems after that. And so that's kind of what got me, that's where we kind of met after this, was I just
Yeah.
started like looking into this program, and I was like, I know I need to do this. I've been thinking about it forever. It's not going to go away anytime soon. Like I need to do it. And that's where that all
How we
started.
met.
Yeah.
Wait, so what happened with your friends? Like, what did you have a moment where you were just like, I'm done partying, I'm done drinking and hanging out with you guys? How did that go about? Like, how was your mindset to flip that, and how did they take it?
It was hard. I mean, I feel like it was like a very slow transition. Like I
Okay.
feel like when I was working at like my office job, like I still had that same group of friends. Well, semi. I had like, I wasn't necessarily just hanging out with like the super party people anymore. That one was kind of just like cold cut. I just kind of
Mm.
like left. And I mean, that's kind of just like my style anyways. I'm a very like I'm a very like keep by type person, or like this is happening now, like this is what I'm doing. So that kind of like happened with that too. I kind of just like stopped hanging out with them. There was like a couple of years that it was like a little bit of a transition though. Like there would be some weekends where like I would go like off the deep end and then be like, what the fuck am I doing? Like this is not who I am anymore. And like, so it was one of those things that was really, really hard. And I mean, I think that when that really changed for me was like when I probably like started my business, honestly, too, and just realized that like I can't be who I want to be if I'm like trying to be the old me, right? Like I can't like get to where I'm wanting to go if I'm trying to like hold on to this old version of myself.
That's so well said. I love that.
Hmm.
Heck yeah.
Yeah.
That's so crazy. I'm like trying to still process what you went through. I'm like sitting here in disbelief, you guys. Can you imagine? Oh my goodness. And after hearing, watching Paris Hilton and everything, I've heard of many stories, but yeah, those, I don't want to call them camp schools. That's
Hmm.
intense.
Yeah.
Right?
And so I feel like that whole experience for me, it kind of was just like, so like with my brand right now, it's like the best self entrepreneur, and it's just like creating a life that you love. And like when I was with health and fitness, like my mission was really to just to like help women level up. Like
Mm-hmm.
that's like what I did is like I just like decided that I wanted to level up, and I did it, and I saw how much it changed my life. And like I did it through health and fitness. And
Mm-hmm.
so that's what I was helping other people do. Like that's how I knew how to help them, right? Was through health and fitness. Um, and I mean, I loved that. And like I love that stuff still. It's such a pillar in my life. But as I started like getting more and more into my business, it kind of was like the same thing. Instead of like people from my office asking me like, how are you doing these like meal plans? Then it started becoming like my friends who were like, how are you like getting these results in your business? Like, how are you doing this? Like, how
Mm-hmm.
do I start a business? Like stuff like that. And it just like I kind of realized that it was just like one of those things that I love fitness, love that it's a pillar, but I just like loved the business side of things. Like that's what started lighting me up, more than like health was anymore. And I mean, it kind of made me realize too that like my whole mission behind like everything that I do, whether it was like nutrition or like fitness coaching or like business coaching, is just like helping people level the fuck up and like
Mm-hmm.
helping people create that life that they love, whether that be through health or whether that be through making bank in their business. Like it's just
Yeah.
one of those things. So it's like for me, I just like I hit like such a bottom and I like went through all this shit, but I also know that like that doesn't necessarily have to stop people from becoming who they want to be or, like having something like that hold you back.
Yeah. I mean, I think you're a great example that your past doesn't define you. No matter you have
Yeah.
people yelling at you saying you're bad,
Yeah.
and you made something of yourself and you
Hmm.
overcame that and you built your best life.
Hmm.
And that's inspiring as fuck. So how did you truly overcome like those pesky voices in your head or any limiting beliefs? I guess first, like, did you have any of those when it came to starting an online business? Like, who am I to do that? Or when it came to transitioning into business coaching, did you have any of
Hmm.
those voices or beliefs
Hmm.
in your head?
I mean, not like not a lot that would just hold me back. I mean, something that I've always kind of ran with and something that is kind of just like my model of doing things is I don't like to say fake it until you make it because that's not what
Mm,
it is, but it's more so embody it until it becomes a reality. And
mm,
so that's kind of how I've just like always stepped into things. Like with when I started my fitness business, it was just like, okay, I'm doing this, like I'm going to show up fucking powerfully and like things are going to happen for me. And when I started my fitness business, it was the exact same thing. Like it was scary, of course, and it was like a lot of unknowns because I've never like, like taking on my first business client, like I've never actually I've never actually had a business client. Like, what if I can't get a results? But I didn't really let that be what holds me back or like any like determining factor of what I did. It was more so like really holding on to that mission of like, I know I can do this. I know I can help this person level up. Like I'm going to do it. And
mm-hmm.
so I feel like for me, like when I'm embodying something that I want and like almost just stepping into that version of who I want to be, that version comes to me. And it soon is a reality, but it's just like really kind of having that faith. And like I said this, I forget where I said this on my podcast, maybe, or like maybe with my clients, I don't remember. Um, but it's like entrepreneurship is almost like consistently jumping into the unknown and just like fucking having faith that it's going to work. And I mean, doing the work kind of ensure and like have that padding that it's going to work. So I feel like that's just how I've always approached my business, and like everything I do is, yes, it might not work, but like what if it does work? And like
Yeah.
it's going to.
Yeah, for sure. I think I was talking to one of my clients with that too. It's so easy for us to think of all the possibilities of what could go wrong, what would happen if it
Yeah.
didn't. Like, it's so human nature that people don't think about, well, what the fuck would happen if it did work out? Like, what's the best case
Hmm.
scenario? And
Yeah.
go for it, because failure doesn't exist. It's just feedback, right?
Ooh.
Yeah, I love that one. I love
Yeah, that'll give me chills.
I love that saying. I was like, I tell my clients all the time, I'm like, failure doesn't exist. It's just feedback. You pivot,
Hmm.
you shift, and you learn.
Hmm.
So heck yeah. So if you had to tell your younger self who was in that boot camp or in that boarding school, one thing, you had to take like one nugget out, what would you tell her?
Ooh, that's a good one. I would say just keep pushing, and just keep a vision of where you want to be, and it will all work out.
Ooh, I like that. The vision.
Hmm.
If you just have
Hmm.
something in your mind, I mean, all the gurus say it. If you can visualize it, you can
Yeah.
have it. Just like that.
Yeah, and it's like it's so crazy. Like now that I'm just like really like into my human design stuff, and like
Yes.
doing like I'm a specific manifester in human design,
Ooh, me
and
too.
you are?
That's like the
Oh
only
yeah,
thing
we
I
talked
know.
about that. We talked about
Yeah.
that. And it's like it's kind of one of those things that's so crazy. Like I will literally write down things, and just like when I'm in alignment with myself, and like when I'm just like doing the things that like I want to be doing, and I'm like, just like being in alignment basically. I'll like write things down and like think of things, and they'll just happen. And I'm just like, what the fuck? This is crazy. But it's just like the more that I do it, and the more that I'm like in this journey, like business is like the biggest teacher in the world. It's literally like the biggest personal development journey. But it's just like the more that I'm like learning about myself, and the more that I'm learning about like how I'm in alignment, and like what alignment means for me, and all of that kind of stuff, it's just like, yeah, I feel like visualization of what you want is so powerful. Like it's like it happens like over and over and over again.
Yeah.
And it's just like one of those things that how can you not do it now?
Yeah. Once you have like that moment where you're just like,
Yeah.
oh my God. For me, it was moving to Florida. I was like, okay, like what else? Or becoming a personal trainer,
Mm-hmm.
moving to Florida, all that, my story and that.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's
Mm-hmm.
awesome. It's
Mm-hmm.
so true. If you can visualize it, it can become your reality for sure. So you mentioned human design and business coach. Do you intertwine them with your clients?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So with my business clients, that's one of the first things that I do with them
Ooh,
is I get their human design. I'm going to soon be doing readings with them. I'm taking my reader level 1 and 2 training right now,
yay.
which
Yeah,
is
I'm
so
gonna have
fun.
Paige come back so we can go way deeper into
Yeah.
the human design world, and I'll have her explain
Yeah.
briefly what that is. But so you
Oh my gosh, yeah. So I get their charts, and I do like a little portfolio for them, but mainly in a way that's like really going to help them with their business and their life. And one of like the biggest things that I find is so cool with human design, or like with my clients, is like the marketing aspect,
mm,
because we are not all meant to market the same. And I mean, like, because we like did this journey, or like started really around the same time, is like kind of everyone gives you the same advice on like how to sell, right? Like
yes.
you do like X, Y, and Z, and like step 1, 2, 3, and like it's just like cut and dry kind of thing. And it's just like that shit doesn't work anymore. And it's just like, I don't know, the online world is growing so quickly, and things evolve so fast that it's like that old way that even we learned in 2018 isn't
Isn't
how things are anymore.
I
And
know, right?
so
The
that's like one of the
algorithms, everything's changed.
yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, like everything's changed. Like our audiences, I want to say like they're not, it's not that they're smarter because they're the same, but it's just like they can see through like what people are doing more now, because it's so like in their face all of the
All the
time.
time. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And like everyone's being marketed to and sold to and all that stuff. So it's just like the stuff that we learned even in 2018 just doesn't work anymore. And I mean, with human design, it's so cool because everybody's so different, and everyone's like just made up so differently. And so to kind of like to try and sell the same as everyone else just doesn't make sense. And so that's something that I work on with my clients, like right from the get-go, is just like, this is how you're meant to market. This is like how you're
Mm.
meant to like energetically show up, and like how people are going to receive you and all of that kind of stuff. So it's really fun just to like really do that in the beginning, and then start getting into like more business strategy, like the technical side of things, but really like getting my clients to understand themselves on like that deeper energetic level is really, really powerful.
Yeah, that is so powerful. I wish I had
Yeah,
that back in the day.
I
So for those, I know,
know.
right? Imagine how different
Yeah,
that would have been.
yeah,
So for
totally.
those listening, I actually found out what human design was from you, Paige, back I think last January.
That's
And you're like, "Do you know what this is? I'm a projector. Like, what's your birthday?" And I was like, "What the heck are you talking about?"
I'm a projector. What's your birthday?
So
Such
for
a mom
those
bird.
listening who have never who have never heard of what human design is ever, what's like a quick short sentence to explain what
Yeah.
the heck
Oh
human
my God.
design is?
I heard this, like, someone explain it this way the other week, and it's just like, it blew me away. So human design is like astrology on acid. It's just crazy. So basically, no, what it is it's just like almost like a blueprint or like a roadmap of how to show up and like operate in this world in your specific alignment. So
Mhm.
like how you can show up every day in your relationships, in your business, like in your day-to-day life, and how everything will just work for you with like the least amount of resistance possible.
Oh, I love that. I like that a lot.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
know for those listening, if you're like so into astrology, look into this because it's amazing
Yeah.
because it's based on your birthday, time, and location.
Yeah.
Cool. And so can you briefly just like very quickly just explain like because I mentioned you're a projector. I
hmm
know I'm a manifesting generator. What are the
hmm
types?
hmm Yeah. So there's a projector, a manifester, manifesting generator, um, reflector. Did I say it? Did I say 5 of them?
Yeah, and the manifesting generators, which are the
Did I say
mix.
that? Okay.
No, I did.
Oh, okay. Yes, projector, manifester, manifesting generator, generator, and reflector.
Cool. Yeah, I love it. I'm definitely gonna have to have you come on and talk more about that after you
hmm
dive even deeper than you already have within it.
hmm
But I think it's so cool because it's so true. I mean, just on the basic knowledge that I've learned on things that you've shared and a few other podcasts I've listened to. I mean, you and I operate so differently.
hmm
You are so I have a lot more energy and I'm constantly multitasking and I can go do and do all these things where you're just like,
hmm
I can do 3 to 4 hours of
Yeah.
work and then I just
Yeah.
need to chill and re-soak
hmm
my energy. Have you found that to be really true for your business and your clients as well?
Yeah. And I mean, it's kind of crazy too, because like as a projector, and if any of you guys are listening and you're just like, you're a projector, but you don't really know how it operates, it's we're just such like non-energy types. And so as projectors, our whole thing is just to like be here to guide and to teach and to like share our knowledge. And I mean, with my business, I started using that in 2019, I would say like at the halfway point of 2019, and then 2020, I like really, really dove into it.
Oh, why is this?
Um,
I'm sorry, you guys. This keeps happening. Try again. I
oh,
don't know.
so
That's so weird. I don't know what. Oh, my internet was unstable right there. So
oh no.
halfway of 2019.
Yeah, so like halfway into 2019 is when I started really or like kind of like dabbling in it, and then 2020 is when I like really started using it. And holy shit, it was just like such a difference, like night and day difference. So as a projector, like we're taught, and like this is kind of what I was saying before, like how we're all taught to like market and sell the same. We're all taught to like ask for the sale, do like 24-hour cart closes, like DM people, like all of that stuff. And really that's like the complete fucking opposite of what you should be doing as a projector. And so I was like hitting burnout all the time because I was always like trying to DM people. I was always trying to do all these sales. Like nothing was working for me. And I was just feeling like defeated a lot of the time and just like very stressed in my business. And then I started really learning and like how I'm supposed to operate. And really it's like sharing my gifts. So like for me, it's like my podcast where I can like have long form type content, doing like Instagram trainings and like Facebook trainings and just like really sharing what I know and like really like almost showing people, sorry to take up, how I coach. And, and people come to me that way. And
Mm.
so it was actually really cool. Like when I started realizing this, I looked at like my whole year. And I calculated all the people who came to me who I worked with versus all the people I reached out to. And I think it was something like 87% of people that I worked with for an entire year came to me.
Wow.
And yeah, and then the other people who like weren't in that 87%, whatever the math is there, 13? I don't know.
Mm. Yes, I think, yes, 13%.
Some of them didn't complete their programs or like fell off or like weren't a perfect fit. And it also just kind of shows that like, 'cause I was doing a lot of outreach at that time too. And it also just
Mhm.
shows that the people I was outreaching to didn't sign up. Right. So it was really like powerful to just like see those numbers too and just be like, oh wow, like this shit actually works. Like, and it's just cool too, knowing that like if I just like do my thing and like show up on my podcast and teach, like, and people recognize me and like want more of that, they come to me, like that just feels really, really good for me. And it helps me not burn myself out because I just know that like, okay, as long as I show up and I just like show my shit today and like I just teach, like I'll be good. And I just have the faith in it too. And it's again, one of those things that like I say in entrepreneurship, you're just like throwing shit out there like blindly and like hoping that it's going to work. Like this is
Yeah.
also one of those things that you just have to trust in it and it works, but you have to just like trust in it. Like I can still get wrapped up in my head sometimes and be like, you know, like we can like see, like if I see like you, Tati, and you're like doing like a sale on or something, or like you're like doing something, but you're not like my energy type either.
Mhm.
Like you can kind of like get into your head a little bit and be like, oh, should I be doing that? Like it seems like it works for that person. But we're just like, the thing is, we're so different, all of us. And you have to just kind of stay in your own lane and you have to just kind of put on your own blinders. And that's what works for me. And I mean, sick because I only have to work 4 hours a day.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I'm like kind of jealous, but then when I find myself having downtime, I'm like, what the heck do I do? And I feel like I'm
Yeah.
constantly doing things. I've always been
Yeah.
like, oh,
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I mean, as a projector too, it's really important that you're like not just working 4 hours and then just like not doing anything, but you're spending like the rest of that time, like the other like 3 hours or like 2 hours or whatever, like almost, they say it in like human design, they say honing your craft. So that means just really like
mm,
educating yourself on what you're teaching your clients and like doing in your coaching business and all of that kind of stuff.
that
Hmm.
makes sense. Yeah, you're
Yeah.
definitely the teacher on that
Hmm.
entrepreneur archetype.
Yeah, I am. Did I
Uh,
tell you that? Did you know that? Or
no,
did you
I
just
think
guess that?
I think I just guessed because I
Really?
just know you. Yeah, I definitely got the coach, but
Yeah, yeah, you are.
you're
Yeah,
good
no,
at
I'm definitely a
explaining stuff.
teacher.
That's
No,
awesome.
thank you.
Oh, well, I'm so excited to have you on again to talk more in depth about human design. And if anyone is
Yes.
interested in mixing in human design in business, definitely, I'll put that all in the
Hmm.
show notes in a second, but
Hmm.
reach out to Paige and follow her.
Hmm.
But before we end, I have a few like wrap up questions. What has been the best piece of advice you've ever been given?
Oh my God, this one's always so hard for me.
I know you're like, I've had so much.
Best piece of advice I've ever been given. Let me think on this for a second.
Yeah, take your time.
I would say, oh my God, I don't know. The one thing that's like coming to my mind for some reason, like I don't really know if this is like the best piece of advice I've ever been given, but it was something along the lines of like, if you can't stop thinking of something, then you need to listen to that
Oh
and go
yeah.
for it. So I don't know if that's like I feel like that's really good advice though, because I feel like
That
I really
is
live my life that way. So I'm gonna go with that one.
Yeah, I like that one because it's true. I mean, if it's on your heart, it's
Yeah.
put in your heart and your mind for a reason, right? But like
Hmm.
just like with you in business coaching, I remember you text me one day, you're like, I think I like business coaching. I'm talking to my friend. And then the day after, you're like, yep, I'm gonna do that. Like it's been on my
Oh
mind,
my
which
God, it was literally like the day after. It was insane. But then it was just like everything took off after that too. So it's just like proves that like,
when you're in alignment,
yeah, exactly. Hmm.
it's so true. Well, I love that one. So if you have something you've been thinking about, if that's quitting your job, hiring a mentor, which we can both tell you, we are very big. We
Hmm.
practice what we preach. We
Hmm.
invest and invest and invest in ourselves and our businesses.
Yes.
Do it. Go chase after it. What would you say are your top success habits?
Ooh, so my biggest thing, and I'm so protective over this right now, is my like morning me time. Like I need to before like I get up very early. I feel like a fraud because today I woke up at like 8. But okay, but like every other day, like that is very unnormal for me. But I try and get up at like 5:15 every single day, and I'll go to the gym. I won't be like looking at my phone. Like I don't go on Instagram or social media or like have any of those notifications even on. I won't even like pick up my phone. I'll just leave it. I'll go to the gym. I'll come back home and I'll walk my dog Merlot. And then after that, I'll just like kind of have some me time where I'll like make coffee or a tea. I'll make a protein shake. And I'll just like do some gratitude writing, like write out things that I'm thankful for that I have now. And then also things that I want to have, but I'll write them as if I already have them.
Love
So
that.
I'll do that. I'll light some candles and I'll just like get myself feeling really, really good. And then I'll start working. But like nothing until I've like done those things like enters. Like I don't like to look at anything external, like emails or anything like that is not going on until I do that. And it's been really, really powerful.
Yeah, I
Mm-hmm.
agree. Having a morning routine to fill up your cup before you talk work with people is
Mm-hmm.
huge. So I
Mm-hmm.
love that.
Yeah.
I love the gratitude writing in the future because that's been a huge game changer. It's so true.
Mm-hmm.
When you focus on, you attract.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. What book or books are you currently reading?
Okay, so right now I'm reading what's it called? Gabby Bernstein book? What the hell? Oh, the universe. No, universe has my back. No, not that one. I don't
I've heard of
remember.
that one. I haven't read that one though.
It's the pink one. Obviously, I'm like very in and out of reading it if I can't like remember actually the name of it, what it's called. But that is the book that I'm currently reading. And I feel, what the fuck is it called? We'll have to look this up.
Yeah, we'll put it in the
Gabby
show notes.
Bernstein something.
Like, sorry, forgot the name of the book, but it's
Yeah,
okay.
and then the other one that I was reading was actually like not businessy, but it actually was kind of nice. Like it was Stay Sexy and Don't Get Murdered.
Ooh, I've never heard of
And
that.
yeah, so it's basically just like these girls who have a podcast and they say just like almost like short like crime stories, but they're
Mm,
funny. And like sometimes that's just kind of nice to take yourself out of like, cause like as a coach and like having a business, we're always listening to like business podcasts and like read personal development books and all that kind of
yeah,
stuff. And sometimes it's just nice to take yourself out of that and like read something that's not that. So that's
agreed.
something I actually like recommend to a lot of people too, is like
Mix
try
it
and
in.
separate, yeah, try and have something that's not just business. um
Yeah, I
Spirit
agree.
Junkie, is that the name of the Gabby Burns?
You're like, I'm still trying to think of
Oh
this.
my god, I can't remember.
That's so funny. Well, on this note, last question. What would you say are your top books or books you recommend to others that maybe have made a big
Mm.
impact in your life? You really enjoyed reading, anything along that nature?
Yeah, Rich 20 something was really, really good. That one was like one that I read kind of in the beginning, like I think in 2018 when we were in that program, I read that one and that was really, really good. You're a Badass at Making Money was also another
That's a
one
good
that I really
one.
love. Yeah, and that I recommend. I have all of my accelerator clients get that in the beginning as well. And then another one that I actually thought was like cool was the 4 Hour Workday.
Oh, with is that Tim Ferriss?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
right.
thought it was good. Some of it was like kind of like out there that I'm like, I would not go to like that extent to
I haven't
outsource,
read
but
it
it's
yet.
like, yeah, it's good. It's good to like get your wheels turning for outsourcing, which I really, really liked because that's something that I'm huge into is outsourcing absolutely everything, even like down to my personal life. And
Yeah,
so,
I need to get better on that. So I'll be asking your
yeah.
advice. I'll read that
Hmm.
first.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. No, that's a good one.
Cool.
Yeah.
I love it. Thank you. To wrap it up, how can everyone who is listening get in touch with you? Where can they find you? Where are you at? Where are your social media
Hmm.
platform handles, all that fun stuff?
Yeah. So you can find me on Instagram. It's Paige _ Vandy, Vandy. And I also have a podcast, the Best Self Podcast. So you can find our Instagram just at the Best Self Podcast, and we're on iTunes and Spotify and like all those fun places that you normally find podcasts at. And my Facebook group, which is for women entrepreneurs as well, which is the Best Self Biz Support Group for female entrepreneurs.
I love it.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. Well, I'll put all of those names and I'll get links from you for your Facebook group and your podcast. I'll put those in the show notes so everyone can connect.
Cool.
And if you're feeling called to reach out to Paige, hear more about her story, or hear more about how her business could help you with where you're at, incorporating human design to make sure you're running your business with alignment, don't hesitate to reach out to her. She's amazing and she's such a great coach. So I'm so grateful to have you on. This isn't like well, I know it's not goodbye for me, but I'm definitely going to be inviting you back on to go way more in depth with human design, because I'm like, I want to learn. I know I have so many ladies in my audience, in my community that want to learn about it. So we'll definitely have you back on soon, but thank you so much for coming on, and we'll see you soon.
Thanks for having me. It was so fun.
Awesome. Have a good one.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you so much for tuning in today. If you enjoyed this episode, please share it with me and write an Apple iTunes review so I can keep the good stuff coming your way. If you aren't following me already, you can find me on Instagram at Tatiana_Kuto. I appreciate you so much and cannot wait to see you in the next episode. In the meantime, continue to shine bright and embrace your radiance.